On today's episode of Before You Sign podcast, we'll be treating property law. Everything that has to do with buying property, selling, perfecting your title, meaning registering a title in your name, and the rest, in a simplified manner as usual. And with me are two established industry juggernauts. They have powers that are going to unleash on this episode. The first person is an accomplished property lawyer. When it comes to real estate transaction, he's a force to be reckoned with. While the other person is a surveyor, a very professional surveyor that has done lots of transactions. He works with a big company. So, our first guest, he goes by the name Sesi Hundeyin. Google him, please. I'm not just playing. Google Sesi Hundeyin. I'll spell it for you later. While the other person is the surveyor who goes by the name Ogundimu David. And as usual, I'll be your host by name Henry Chestnut. And with me is my delectable hosts.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Henry. But before I say anything, I want to put it out here that one day someone will say Gugua. My name is Omotayo. They would say Gugu Omotayo. Well, thank you so much for joining. And like you already said, today we'll be talking about everything property law. Do you want to buy land? Do you want to sell your land? Do you want to protect your land? Do you want to exploit your land? You would learn everything about that here on this show today. So stay tuned and make sure that you subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out on any of our posts. I hope you don't say I'm partial, but then I want to start with my learned colleague who is going to, break down all the legal issues that relate to property law in Nigeria and beyond. Of course, is capable. So I would allow Sesi to introduce himself and tell us a little about him before we start.
Thank you, Motayo, and all our viewers. My name is Sesi Hundeyin. I'm a lawyer and I specialize in real estate and construction law.
Interesting.
I've been fortunate and privileged to appear in all courts in Nigeria.
Interesting.
Court,
okay.
And I've done more real estate since my over a decade career.
Oh wow.
I'm also a TEDx speaker. I'm an author.
Interesting.
Good
to have you. Good to have you. Good to have you. Yes. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. So I would also like Mr. David, the renowned surveyor, to tell us a little about himself before we proceed.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you to all our viewers. My name is Ogundimu David.
Okay.
I'm a registered surveyor of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and over a decade of working in the real estate space.
Interesting.
I started my career first as an architect.
Yeah.
Before, later, early in school rather, I swapped to surveying.
Okay.
Since professional life, I've worked with not less than 10 listed companies. I've consulted for one of the biggest names, at least in Nigeria and also in Ghana.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive.
So, I major on due diligence as a surveyor, and I'm a preacher of due diligence, and also somebody that preaches and also acts. And as much as I can, I try in all my possible best to make sure investors' funds are safe when it comes to real estate.
Interesting. And I guess that's one major reason why we are here today.
Yes, so
investors' funds must actually be kept safe. So, but then I would like to start with Sesi, of course. So, unlike every other property that you can think about, like if today I decide to buy a TV, I decide to buy a car, it's either I own it or I rent it. It's as easy as that, black and white. But then for real estate, it's not like that. When you go through a real estate advert, you see things like excision, you see things like deed of assignment, you see governor's consent. It just feels and sounds so complicated. So are there particular titles that you should look out for when you want to purchase a real estate property? What are the kind of titles that you should avert your mind to?
Yeah, your title you should look out for as an investor, and I'll just make it very simple. I
Brilliant.
don't want to talk speak like a lawyer. I speak
Yeah.
like a layman.
Yeah, make it
Exactly.
down.
So
But
let me
that's
be
why we
teacher
are
now.
here.
So I'm a
Yes,
teacher.
yes,
So when you hear
yes.
title simply means proof of ownership
Okay.
over a property. Now
Okay.
in this estate, this context, we're talking about real estate now. Proof of title of a real estate. There are two major types of title: documented ones and undocumented ones. But let me start with documented ones.
All right.
Documented ones are written down in black and white on paper, documented. You have the legal title,
Okay.
and you have the title that is not legal title. I don't want to use the legal word because to confuse you. When you hear legal title, what it means is that this title was given to you, who is a buyer, by the government.
Okay.
And the background to that is that under our laws in Nigeria, it's only the governor of a state that can validly give you title to land. How does it play out? This is how it plays out. So I want to buy land. You want to sell.
All right.
You have it. I want to buy from you. Now, we have sold and we have bought. Money has changed hands. There's a document to show that something happened. There's a transaction, sale of land has been bought. But if you stop there, you have title as per you giving money and you can go into property.
No,
but
you
don't
give
have
me
legal
receipt.
title. You don't have legal title. Legal title, now you now go to the governor and say, Governor, I have bought this land from this my sister here. Can you approve the transaction? He approves the transaction. Yes, it's aware. He approves the transaction, gives you a document, which I will explain later. Then you now have title. But why is that so? It is so because even though as a Nigerian citizen, the law says you have a right to own property anywhere in the country. But under law, Land Use Act says that you cannot transfer interest in land from one person to the other without the governor's consent.
Wow.
Without the governor's consent, that transaction is incomplete. The word is incoherent. It's incomplete. So when something is not complete, it means that
you still have other things.
There's something
to do.
pending.
There's something I have not done.
It's conditional.
And if you don't do that thing, you cannot say you are the owner.
True.
So that is when you now hear something like governor's consent. So when you hear legal title, it simply means, has the governor given consent? And how does the governor give consent? The governor is not there. He cannot know that we bought land, I sold land. The way he knows that, I will present to him a document. That's the first title, which is called a deed. Because in Nigerian law, you can't transfer interest in land except it is in writing. It must be in writing. And in writing, in documents called a deed. A deed is just an agreement, a contract. Must be signed, must be sealed, must be delivered, must mention the land, the price, the historical background of that land. The governor sees that document and he now puts his approval. If for the first time, the approval comes by way of a certificate of occupancy. That's the title. That's the legal title. But if the person that is buying, that is selling, already has a CFO and is selling to you that don't have a CFO, you don't give her that CFO. What he will give you is, you will approve your document, your deed, and say, I consent. It's consent. So he just consents to, maybe I bought the land, I got the CFO, which is going to consent for 99 years. And I used it for 10 years. I have 89 years later. I sold 89 years to you. Now, God will not give her that CFO. What he will give you is that you just approve your deed, your document, and say, I've
consented to this.
89 years she's selling to you. And in the register in the government's office, called land registry, that register, they will effect that transaction. And the title we give to Mrs. Omotayo for 99 years, she has given it to somebody else, and he now has 89 years. She has used 10 years, you record it there. When you say to another person too, he sees the flow. So this is just legal title, CFO or governor's consent. But it's generally called governor's consent, but everybody is CFO. That's legal title generally. Also, if governments allocate an estate to maybe somebody, they are doing an estate and everything, and government give it to you. Of course, it's legal title because government own the land. They are giving to you, so it's legal title. It can be by way of maybe land certificate, it can be by way of maybe allocation letter. That is coming from the government. It's also legal title. So any title government issues to anybody is legal title. All other titles not issued by government are not legal title, but they are title documents because they show some proof. Now I want to explain what are the documents that are not. This is where a lot of people fall under. You can think of Nigerians, a lot of us fall under because a lot of people cannot buy land and have a CFO. It's very quite expensive. Now if you don't have a CFO or government consent, what are the titles if you see? You can see titles are genuine. I mentioned deed of assignment. is showing that A is selling
Has
a land
passed
to
to
B,
B.
and that's so that is title. Number 2, I have a land. I want to give it to you. Maybe I like you. You've been a wonderful staff over the years. I want to just give it to you. You're not my child by biologically, but I also want to give it to you. I'm giving you a gift.
Okay.
A deed of gift. If I told you cannot transfer land without a deed. So any document you see in land, you must see the word deed. So deed of assignment or deed of conveyance or land sale agreement, then deed of gift. I'm giving it to you. I'm dashing.
So if you are gifting me too, you
Yes.
still have to prepare a document to write
because
it
the
down.
because the law says that you can't transfer interest in land.
Except it's in writing.
So deed of
Interesting.
gifts. Another one is that when you give properties to your loved ones, maybe like your father, your mother, by a will. The will is not title. But when you give it to you in a will, that means these are the people that are entitled to that property.
So the property.
Now, when the person is no more alive, because a will takes effect when someone is dead, the person is no more alive, and who he mentioned in that will to administer the will, to carry out his wishes, the trustees and administrators. Now, when they now transfer that title to the beneficiaries, they must do a document again. Even though they have mentioned their name, I told you that. You can't have interest except
in writing.
The will is not a deed. The will is a will. Now you have to do another deed called vesting assets. That the party your dad said you should take possession of.
Now you want to take.
Now he's dead, and appointed us as trustees to oversee his wishes. We want to transfer it to you now. It's called vesting. That's also a deed. So these are the ones that if you see them, they are legal. I mean, they are not legal title, but they are also title document. On some other occasions, you could have a land dispute between two people or two communities. They don't have C of O, they don't have any legal title. We are disputing it. And one person is able to prove his interest, his ownership over the other person with evidence. Can everybody go to the Supreme Court? And the court gives a judgment and says, this man, based on evidence, based on fact, is the owner. That judgment of the court is title. You know why it's title? Because it has shown, it has established ownership of this person.
So from what you have said now, is it like there are hierarchy of titles that you can get on a property?
There are.
Interesting.
You can get 3 titles.
Okay.
You can get someone that has a C of O and they had a dispute in court and you won a court case and maybe the person that bought it is no more alive and given to his children in a will. So you must check those 3 documents. Do they tally? Are they saying the same thing? So it's actually possible to have multiple titles depending on what happened on the land and everything. It's
over
possible.
time.
Yeah. And no one is superior to the other. Although, I mean, all of them are not legal. They are not superior to any other one. But I will argue that a court judgment I prefer because court judgment has already settled the case. And the likelihood of another case coming up is 0. Than you having a job assignment and it's not registered. I can't vouch for the history of the land. You know, the possibility of a litigation coming up is high. So if I see court judgment and I see deed of assignment and this one, you get. So why they're not superior? You know, for a savvy investor, you can say, okay, if I have 2 offers for a land and this has judgment, this one has a deed of assignment or a will, I think I'll go for the one that has judgment because they settle their issues and possibility of having another dispute is very low.
It's remote. Nice. Okay.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
All right. I know you have said a lot of things. I hope you guys pick one of the things because he said a lot of things.
Yeah.
And he tried to break it down.
Yeah.
So now let me speak to the surveyor. Yeah. From my experience in real estate transactions, after we do our due diligence, you know, and the land is sound to buy, and let's say money has exchanged hands, we've drawn up the deed. You know, we always tell our client, oh, sir, you need a surveyor on this property and the whole thing. And they're like, hey, what does the surveyor do? So I would like you now to tell us what the surveyor does. And I remember that in your bio, you said you're a registered surveyor. Does it mean there are unregistered surveyors? That's number 2. Then number 3, can anybody be a surveyor? Because I know you people have these, I think it's like a pole, something like a stethoscope that you take to the land when you want to do your survey. If I buy that, does that make me a surveyor? So 3 questions in one.
Okay. First, let me start from the 3rd question.
Okay.
Then answer the number 2.
Okay.
And probably the 1st.
Okay.
Meanwhile, you remind me of the 1st.
All right.
Can anybody be a surveyor?
Yes.
You have an equipment?
Yeah, their equipment, yes.
Can be a surveyor. The question is, if you have the money to buy a stethoscope, you open a lab, can you be a doctor? Can you click to be a doctor?
Except a quack doctor.
No. But the truth is, by law, apparently there's actually not nothing like registered surveyor. A surveyor is a surveyor.
Okay.
In the second act, a surveyor is somebody who is duly registered and proven to be so by law. That's all.
Okay.
Not is either you're a surveyor or
You are not a
surveyor.
surveyor.
Okay.
Now, if I now break it down in according to SOCON, which is Surveyors Council of Nigeria, there are different cadres.
Okay.
Before you become a surveyor, you referred to a student, you became probably a member, and then a full-fledged surveyor.
And practicing on.
Yes. But if you want to call somebody a surveyor, the person must have proven that yes, it's certified.
Okay.
And how you get certified, you search for the professional exam and you seem to be qualified. Now, coming to your first question, I'm sure what does it do?
Yes.
In all this land transactions.
Yes.
After you pay your deed
Yes.
or whatever, the surveyor will be the one to will produce a document that gives perfect description of the property.
Yes.
That's why when you see a survey plan, it has a lot of features underneath. One of the things that makes it unique is some legal, some writings, some numbers, coordinates.
Left coordinates.
Exactly.
Yes.
Big numbers.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Because first of all, no point on earth has the same coordinates.
Okay.
So when a surveyor goes to sites, does all the dramas and produce a document for you, he or she tells you, okay, land said to belong to so and so, quoting all the location and those figures, the coordinate, the bend and distance, showing the shape, the configuration of the land. That gives you the best description of the land. And I can tell you for free, in the next 10, 20, 50 years, with that document, land is not lost. We've seen cases where probably lands were transferred to children. You don't even know where the land is located. If they have a very good survey, prepared by a surveyor, that can, no matter where it is,
You can locate
it can be located.
Interesting.
So that's now imagine, because we now ask, then what is the surveyor does? If a lawyer prepares a deed based on a faulty survey plan, it means if for any reason we have to trace it back, we'll probably end up somewhere else. Meaning that apart from the deed and other documents, the survey, which is actually, in fact, one of the most important ingredients of title, like I said, the survey is not a title document in its own, but it's also attached to the
title document.
You understand? But if that part is gotten wrong, then the other things is not involved.
It's as good as you have passed the wrong land.
Exactly.
You get
Claim they have CFO, but CFO
to a wrong property.
To
a wrong property.
Exactly.
Wow.
So it's actually very important. It's very key. We can't don't do it.
So it's surveyor is very important in a real estate transaction. So don't forget, it's not just lawyer you pay. You also pay surveyor.
You also pay the surveyor. So talking about the people that are actually involved in land transactions, we've heard from the surveyor side. Now let's hear from the legal angle, right? So if I can go out to purchase a car without any drama, without calling a surveyor, without calling anybody, why do I need to call a lawyer when I want to buy a property? Why is there a need for me to seek legal advice, to seek, legal help before I buy a property? What's your role?
Wow, the goals are multiple.
Interesting. We are here for it.
You want to buy an asset that borders on ownership, and you can't really, you can study English language in university and really understand English language and grammar.
You read textbooks.
But when it now comes to legal issues, telling you that this land was this, was that, and all of those things, you might not really know the intricacies behind it. It looks like English language. For example, I was dealing with a client transaction who was in Europe, and we're trying to check the CFO, and we saw that an encumbrance on the CFO. I checked for the encumbrance, I could not see anything, and I started looking deeply. I realized that.
Sorry, before you proceed, what's an encumbrance?
An encumbrance is like, let me see, an issue on the property that you should be aware of, you should be careful of.
Okay.
Like, if you're not careful of it, you might actually be a liability that is not your own. So this guy got this very large expanse of land in Lagos State, just on the island here in Lekki area here, in hectares. I don't want to disclose how many hectares. And it was to pay almost 19 million naira per year as the ground rent. Ground rent simply means something you pay to government, like a lease for 3 years, and he didn't pay that money for 19. He didn't pay. So now when I now try to investigate for that, he didn't pay, and they have sold land to 2 other people. The client is the third purchaser.
Wow.
That means that if you remove my client's one plot out of the number of hectares of land, you will divide that amount of money, because the money is still pending. He will have to pay. If he wants to apply for his own consent, he will meet pending liability.
Yes.
Now, the reason why my client didn't answer that, I told him that is an existing issue. But if he divides the amount of money he will pay, I think it's so small that he cannot afford. Imagine that it was for the whole hectares, and I didn't read that.
It would have been a lot of money.
And I also pay 19 million naira from 5 years ago till date.
Wow.
I've not done my own CF. I'm just trying to. Now, a lawyer would look at, things and say, are there liabilities on this title that we should be aware of? And can we bear the liability, or should we just avoid and go for somewhere else?
And buy another property.
Secondly, he wants to be sure that the document is consistent. It's the way a deed of assignment looks like. It's the way tax documents look like. If it's not the way they should look like, he will raise some questions and say, why is this like this? Why was this document not signed? Why was the document not stamped? Why was the document not dated? So if the information are not tenable, he will tell the client that, look, I think this document is not the way it is, and the information is not logical. So I think we should be careful here. Another one could be, which is the most important one, is that there are lots of hidden issues in land that people are not aware of until they buy the land. For example, a land could be under litigation. That's they're in court. And they will not put any signboard on the land. This land is under litigation. You will not know until you pay. Sometimes the land will be owned by a family. And the person that is selling land to you now is selling to you a house, a developer, that he did not even buy the land. He only has an arrangement to these people to build, and they sell, and they share profits. Meanwhile, the land is signed by one person, and people that own the land are a family. And the law says in a family, every principal member must
consent.
So after you have paid money, the right people have to that, Mr. Man, our brother signed for you.
But
so pay us our money. And it's not an issue. So we examine the issues. Number one, lawyer will help you with due diligence.
One.
A lawyer will help you negotiate.
Two.
A lawyer advise you first on what to do.
Three.
A lawyer documents for documents for you. Then lastly, a lawyer can also, if there's any dispute, he can represent you
in court.
You can even see dispute ahead and tell you that this dispute and document. So he's also your risk manager. He tries to reduce your risk or eliminate your risk totally. That's the summary.
Interesting. So obviously, aside from having a surveyor or working with a surveyor, you definitely want to work with a lawyer. You
mentioned something about something about family property. Hey, you don't have a sound lawyer, a sound property. I don't go close to family property. So use it and play. I've seen it play out before. So, Mr. David, let me come to you now. Yeah? Sometimes when we have property clients who want to purchase property, when we're doing our due diligence, we always say, oh, we need a survey. Let's do our due diligence on the survey. And I've heard some stories about maybe a certain area marked for the government, but you not doing that due diligence with that survey plan now, that makes you buy that BC. Because once government has marked something for themselves, then it means it's for themselves. Except maybe in the future, they change their plan. And by virtue of Land Use Act, we all know that the government
owns the land.
Exactly. So my question now is, what is the importance of a due diligence for a survey plan? Like, why should we do a due diligence when a survey plan is presented to us?
Well, thank you. First, let's recognize the fact that every state, first you rightly said, every land within the states is controlled or under the control of the governor in the states. And each of the states, governor of the entire state, have a plan. Once you are aware of that, it makes you tread carefully like in Lagos State, one of the states that other countries are actually looking for, up to, there are some areas designated as residential areas.
Yes.
As areas designated as mixed use
Okay.
properties.
Okay.
Areas designated, in fact, meanwhile, because of the Land Use Act also, there are some areas that the government have earmarked for certain projects. Like construction said, for overriding
Public
interest.
interest.
Yes. Please,
General
can
hospital.
we okay. I wanted us to explain more variety public
Right.
interest, but let me give an example. So continue.
Because definitely the government of the states wants to provide facilities,
Basic
amenities,
amenities, yes,
that's
amenities.
overriding
Yeah.
public interest.
public schools, general hospitals, military barracks, and so on.
Yes.
Now, if you first of all have that consciousness that not everywhere is free to buy.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, not everywhere can be used for just any purpose.
Mhm.
Okay.
You can buy agri land where government has designated for agri purpose,
Yes.
but don't go and build your residential plots, buildings there. Those areas have specific needs or specific purpose for which they are created, and we see a lot of them. Some areas forestry, some areas, in fact, some areas are even reserved. Not yet allocated, but it's reserved.
Government reserved areas.
So the question is, if somebody is selling to you and has a survey, why not confirm that survey? First of all, for the purpose of you buying the land, will that particular portion be useful?
Served. Exactly.
You want to build a residential building for residential, or somebody is giving you a property, like I see in a pen and people market, properties. And
Okay.
when you check this land, this is agri, this is forestry. I can't build here. I can't build what I want. Okay, if you want to do farming, good, fine.
Yes.
But what in terms of due diligence in all these things is what we're talking about now. For instance, if you have a land, a portion, a mark for commercial purpose,
Yes.
you'll be underutilizing the land if you now use it and say you are building it out and residential.
Yes.
Areas like hotel, banks are probably better in those areas. And meanwhile, if you flip it also, it probably doesn't work.
Yes.
So it's important, after you get a survey, you want to buy, okay, let's say, just in the general term now, you want to buy a land, okay, can we see the survey? Anyway, I have got my own client. I'm not giving you a survey because I've seen a lot of stories about land survey. Go to the land,
and do you
take your surveyor there,
and
do
do your
your due
own
diligence.
survey. Okay.
Don't, because I see a lot of things, sincerely, the passion I have for this due diligence, I cry when I see people fall for something.
Especially those overseas, diasporas.
You understand? About 5 days ago, I was in one of the lawyer forum, the MBA Lekki forum.
Okay.
And one of the lawyers there lamented greatly because about 5 years ago, he had cases of people in diaspora buy properties online, and when it comes to Nigeria, we call it audio land.
Audio.
You only hear it with
Audio land.
No,
It doesn't exist.
I've seen cases.
Unfortunately.
In fact, one of the reasons why I had to go deeply into due diligence was because even those doing due diligence have not yet succeeded, and not let's say are not foolproof,
Totally protected.
How much more those who just throw
It doesn't do at all.
Yes, of
Doesn't do at all.
Driving here, I saw a popular real estate company. I knew when they started on that property. I told so and so, I give you 6 months.
No food.
Then just when I was coming, they've put down the banner.
There are plenty.
Don't forget,
There are plenty.
a lot of investors fund have
Yes.
into that project. It's not something to laugh about.
I know it's sad.
It's sad. It's sad. It's sad.
That's why first of all, I appreciate the fact that we still have people preaching due diligence, doing all the way out. On a daily basis, people are falling prey to this.
Victim.
It's so unfortunate that despite how we shout, we talk about this thing, people are still paying into the wrong account. People are still, in fact, when I investigated that particular company, they actually used the CO4 of a nearby property to sell. I
Wow.
was ready to sell, to see the contract of sale, and it was so unfortunate. The question is, just a company, don't you have a surveyor? Don't you have a lawyer?
Wow.
Was that not carried out on the property? And like I said,
And they are real estate companies.
In fact, a big one at that.
Wow.
On the contract of sale, the CFO number was quoted.
Yeah.
Meaning that they publicly said this, they have a, in fact, this number, go and confirm.
Has it
But the question
so much
is,
impressive?
and really, if you go with that number, you will see everything is intact. But something was fishy. Something was fishy. Because normally when you see your CFO, the last page you see the survey plan attached. Why not confirm a surveyor? Go to site, pick some point, put on that survey. Is it margin?
Does it match?
Because
Doesn't
you see
match.
cases where you see a survey claiming to be in a location, end up in another location. In fact, it's so sad, but it's true.
Yeah.
Even some professionals also engage in such.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago, when there was a property here in Ologolo, a realtor told me, okay, you know what, all of my prospects want to buy this property, come help do diligence. We went to site, okay, but one of the things we clamor for is, okay, how can we make search for properties faster? We're waiting, okay, because of the pressure, realtors want to sell, they want to get commission. Okay, you know what, can you just use that means? Do you have a survey? We have a survey, yes. We use their survey, okay, we use survey. Good, fantastic. People are a realtor surveyor, wow. We checked it in the records. Yes, fine. Okay, is that okay? It's fine. The record, everything okay. We bought the property. 3 years down the line, 3 months down the line, we want to register. They say no, it's not an acquisition. How? When we did our findings, the supposed surveyor moved the property about 3 blocks away.
Wow.
Out of acquisition. They call it flying coordinates. So because apparently the property was actually at the boundary of letter acquisition. So the person moved it about a few blocks
away from it.
Well, I would not want to go into details on what I engaged in.
So I've learned a new term, flying coordinates.
Flying coordinates.
For your survey, due diligence, it's very important. Hold your lawyer with your surveyor. With those two, hold your very good lawyer. Very good surveyor.
Very good surveyor.
I don't think you can go wrong.
Yeah, I get interesting. So, talking about issues relating to landed property, the story you just told now reminds me of one story that I stumbled on social media a while ago, where a guy that was in the abroad was calling out a very prominent. You remember that case, right? I don't want to mention the company's name, right? He was screaming, lamenting that he bought some, I think 20 plots of land, right? In the code. That he bought like 20 plots of land for about 40 million from the real estate company. And I think he made payment in 2017 and he did that video in 2023. That as at then, he hadn't seen the plot of land that they promised to give him, neither did they refund him of the money that he paid. So as a real estate investor or just an individual that wants to buy a property, what are the likely issues that you should avert your mind to, and how do you avoid such issues?
Okay, there are a lot of issues in Nigeria, and Nigeria is not the Western world. That is sincere. Western world, this is the Western because they are developed. Whereas we are not get, we are getting there gradually. So in Nigeria, the possibility of buying the land and having issues is very high. Not because people are wicked or because people want to scam you. Not necessarily because of the system. Most of our transactions are not recorded. Because a lot of people don't go for government consent. So that's why these things are still undocumented. So the first problem, which I've seen over time in my 10 years of practicing this profession, is that the chances of buying a land from someone that does not own the land is very high. And it's not always maybe someone it's an outsider. I know it's not an outsider. I mean that you're selling a land to me.
Yeah.
I want to buy it. You currently live on that land. You've been living on that land for years.
Okay.
But unknown to people and even to me, you are just a daughter of the owner who is probably dead.
Oh.
And if you are selling property that was inherited, supposedly, you can't sell a loan. And you can show me proof that it was given to you alone.
Only me. Yeah.
This is a typical example of this person is the owner and she looks like everything is fine.
Everything
but
is fine.
You don't know
She's
the
been
history
staying
of
there
that
for
family.
20 years.
You know the history of that person. That's one of the scenario. And that scenario, they are buying from a real estate company, which in quote are supposed to be perfect. The possibility of not getting your land allocated is a risk. What do I mean? They'll tell you buy the land, pay installments. Probably pay in a year. You pay in a year. And when you are paying for the land, you might not read the agreement very well and tells you that the allocation will be done 6 months after full payment of the land, of the price of the land, and also of documentation fee. You didn't read that. You only read payments. And you thought after you paid, they'll give you land. You know, it's like not paid for documentation fee. Probably another 25% or more of the land price.
Of the land that you bought.
You have to now raise the money. You finish paying that one, and I tell you, okay, after you have now paid, we'll now give you a date for allocation.
So moving to a development fee.
Yeah, so what does this means that the possibility of not getting instant allocation is very high. And the way to avoid that risk is to read the contract. And either you agree with them or you don't agree, or you negotiate your own.
They
and
get
most
to
times you
review.
push to negotiate, you can actually get it.
Yes.
You can't even push. You tell that no, as our agreement, I can't change it. But if you decide to push, you just get it, because in life, don't get what you deserve, get what you
negotiate.
So
absolutely.
And that risk is that property, like he said, that is under government acquisition. You can't get you can't even get a title from government because it's not a land that should be sold.
Yeah, it should be sold in the first place.
And they'll market it for you, package it for you. So like he said, if you have done due diligence before you even pay, you'll have discovered that. Another one is a land that's under litigation. So once the land you're in court on a land, the possibility of using that land is very low.
Very low.
I'm fighting for the land, and as long as being mischievous, sold the land to you. And you can't see any signboard there saying it's under litigation. They didn't put the caveat saying it's under litigation. You don't know.
You just be in your house, they will come and serve you court documents.
If you go there, you come to arrest you for contempt of court.
Wow.
That's another issue.
Wow. And you've paid 10 million.
Yeah. Then buying land from family, that you don't get the consent of all the principal family members. Law says that kind of transaction is voidable.
It's voidable.
That means it can be set aside. You go to court. If you buy from a family member that is not the principal member of the family, it's already void. There is no sale. So these are the risks in Nigeria that are very prevalent. And the way, like he said, to avoid it, some risks should be avoided. Some risks can be taken on, and you can actually correct. You can mitigate it. But some risks should not even be taken on at all. If you take it on, you will lose. So if you do your due diligence and this risk is that you cannot mitigate, you can't reduce the impact. Don't buy. If you can reduce the impact, like perfecting documents, you can go ahead and prepare documents in due course.
So what kind of risk is the one that you shouldn't take at all? Like, don't even go close to it.
Don't buy a land that you can't be the owner. A land that you can't be the owner, don't buy. Well, there are some lands that I'll say something here that people don't want me to say. I'll say it now.
Please say it.
This is secret.
Okay, please say it.
Now the company are saying that in Lagos State here. Because it was from family members too.
Yeah.
They didn't fall for it. It's not perfect. They perfected the land by themselves. But do you know why they are able to sell and get CFO? Because the risk involved, which the family member saying that he didn't collect money or they didn't save his consent, you can cure by paying another money. Let's say I bought the land for 50 million naira. I don't know one person didn't collect, was not carried along. And it says he was not carried along. And he brings proof. You can put 50 divided by 5. How much is your share? I'll give you that 5 150. So that one I can clear it. But I know that of course, after some years, land appreciates.
Yeah.
So, even land from family members, I'll tell my friend that if you want to buy the land, you are convinced that the person who is telling you, the realtor or the link or wherever, you're sure the person's source, let's go ahead. But be ready for a potential something I'll carry along and you will pay. If you're ready for that risk, I'll document it. But I'll also make sure the person who has make us have that risk will not go scot-free too. We'll put it in writing. So if you are ready for the investor, because let's be frank, let's be real here now. There's no investment in this life that is not
risky. Yes.
We should not put our leg into a risk that we can't come out from. So if you know that this family member or this family people, you trust them to an extent and you are willing
to take
as an
the
investor
risk.
that you are and as an entrepreneur you are to take the risk that if it's an issue you want to go all the way, then go for it. That's why you're an investor. That's why with an investor who has more. I mean, they hire the risk, they hire the return.
Exactly.
So I will not say that don't buy it, because truly, if you want to buy just know without issue, there are very few like that.
Yes,
there are very few. I'm being real now. The realness is that
yes.
if you can bear the wahala in Nigerian language, the risk, go for it. But don't go for the one that you can't even be the owner in the first place. On acquisition, that have issues, litigation, those ones no go area. But the ones that you feel you can bear the risk, you can go for it. And just put aside money to whatever comes. And that you spend a lot of money. But after everything, you bought everybody that needs to be bought in quotes. You've set everybody to be settled. I cannot have peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
I register your land in Alausa. Everybody will come and say, give me money tomorrow. That's the answer to that question.
That peace of mind is really key. Like, it's really, really key.
The funny thing there is that families in Lagos are really making money. They sell to A, yeah? A is holding it. A says to B. When B wants to perfect it, B still has to go to the family. That's what comes to me now. We have to go to the family again. Family will tell you that the only ones that can draw deed. I don't need a surveyor that can survey the land. You can't bring your own surveyor.
You can't bring your own.
Whatever they tell you, you will pay.
But let me put something out there now. And under Ghana Body's tenure, he signed a law called the Lagos State Property Protections Law. And that law criminalized land grabbing. What you said is land grabbing. I sold to her. And I said her family has sold. And somebody within us is now saying that that you now sold the land to somebody else without your consent. I'm thinking of having an issue, land grabbing. Now, but that does not stop family from collecting money, for example, for foundation, for whatever it is, those things they collect money for. It doesn't stop them, because they don't say that those money they are collecting does not constitute land grabbing. Land grabbing is where somebody sold land to two people. He knew that he had sold to you,
intentionally.
And
he was just being fraudulent.
That's land grabbing. But if he tells you that you have bought the land, you want to do foundation, you pay for foundation. It's there. I can show you. It's written here. That this is what foundation. This is levy for foundation and ratification. Let's say now family A has maybe 3 branches, has 3 wives. Their father is one father, has 3 wives, right? And these 3 wives, they have children, they're fighting over a land, right? And maybe if the first 2 branches are facing the other one, these 2 won, and this other one lost. This other one has sold to a lot of people. But now, because God has said these 2 people are the real owners, these people, they can't sell and they can't resell and again. What do you want to do? If you have one for family A, we have one court judgment. Come and meet us to ratify. We're not saying pay the coin value, but we have to give an amount you will pay. If you pay, we'll give our documentation, because we are the one that should have sold it.
The real owner. Yeah.
So the law did not remove their part of ratification. You can't pay them for ratification. So ratification and foundation money is not illegal in Lagos State. It's good. It's in the law. Lagos State Property Protection Law. I know it's section, but it's there towards the end. It's not criminal. It's not illegal.
I need to read up on that law. So, Mr. David, real life story. Some years back, we had a client who bought some plots from a property company. We did everything, due diligence, everything flew. Now we paid. You know how these guys do now? They will say you pay for their deed. It's their lawyer that will draft deed. They say it's their surveyor that will do the survey. We paid. We made the full payments and all. We're now ready to perfect the title. The guy sent us the deed as of, I think maybe 2 years ago, when we paid for that survey. The survey plan. That was when he sent it to us. So it was not this year that we're now ready to, perfect and the whole thing. So we submitted document that allows us now. And normally they need to, first of all, check if that survey is registered. Before, fire can even begin to move. Next thing, my contact tells me that my survey is not registered. I said, what do you mean? She said it's not registered, that I should contact the real estate company. That's how we started fight. Had to contact the real estate company. He called the surveyor. Surveyor, first of all, lied. It was after I now told him that my contact cannot be lying. I gave him proof. I now even gave him another survey that was registered, and we had receipt acknowledgement copy showing that this one has been registered. And I asked him, okay, where's the acknowledgement copy for the survey that you claim that you registered? He couldn't provide it. And from there, he now said, he's out of Lagos, he needs to do this, he needs to do that. It took him like 4 to 5 months before he got to register. I was already threatening to even report him to your association. Because I feel you guys are very active, just like MBA. You know, I was already telling the developer that, see me, I'll report your surveyor, all this trash that you're saying. Because it's disappointing that we'll pay you money how many years ago? You've not even launched the survey. I think the right word is to launch it. They have not launched the survey. So 2 questions now, yeah? Number 1, what is the effect of an unlaunched survey plan? You know, in terms of this scheme now that I've explained. Number 2, is there any reason you can make up for your colleague to not have launched the survey plan for 2 good years?
So first, when was this? Let me ask.
This transaction occurred in 2022. We made payment for the deed and the survey.
So when was the survey done? Late or was it done?
It was done in that 2022. We got it.
Okay.
But perfection is not this year. We wanted to begin perfection.
The new survey you got, you received it this year.
No, so that survey that year was 2022.
Okay, no problem. Don't let me digress.
Okay.
Because if you have probably done that survey this year,
Yes.
I wouldn't know whatever the reason was why it was not launched in the first place.
Yes.
But the survey will run at a loss because the price of survey then and this year is not the same.
Yes.
So if it was actually paid for a registered survey, it should be lodged then.
Yes.
And he did not do it then and he's not doing it now, he actually lost.
Yeah, the cost.
But let's not forget, the lawyer here said, read the content of your agreement.
Yes.
Perhaps what you were to collect or what your surveyor owe you was a provisional survey, not a registered survey. Well, some real estate companies will tell you what we give to you is a provisional survey. And they will not charge you for a registered survey. I think that clears that. Because you asked what could be the reason why my colleague wouldn't have lodged the survey. So we wouldn't know the agreement he had with the company. But I see no reason why they pay you to do the property and you will not do that, especially if you are a surveyor. Because your name will definitely fly up.
Okay, so the reason why I know we didn't have the contract sale, didn't have anything like provisional survey, and registered, because even the developer was surprised. He was like, what does it mean that this guy did not register the survey and the whole thing? Do you understand? So I know he was not talking about cost. There was a point he was talking about cost. The developer now said he's going to bear the cost that the guy is talking about cost.
So, now we can really say probably there was miscommunication between the surveyor and the developer. Well, now, the second question is, what is the implication?
Yes, so
you answered yourself. You can't proceed with anything.
Exactly.
You can't proceed with anything. You want to register your title, you can't. Now, maybe we should now ask what's the difference between a provisional survey and the registered survey. People will now ask me, how do we know the difference? First, if I should hold a provisional survey and a registered survey, it's almost the same thing. But when I go to site for you, you bought a land, I just take measurements, I give you, okay, this is how your land looks like, this is the length, this is the breadth, this is the shape of your land. Your land, I keep saying your land, I did not say because on the survey document, you see it, properties showing land said to belong to. You called me, Mr. Surveyor, come and help me survey my land. You said it belongs to you. So I got there, I took measurement, I produced a plan that showed the length, breadth, the dimension, the shape
of the property.
Now, that's what I've given to you. That's document, the survey. You can actually use it to perfect your title if you are ready to pay for my fee. But some people can say, you know what, I can't afford the fee now. Can you just give me something that my architect, because you can't do architectural plan without your survey plan. A lot of people miss that thing out, because I've seen a case where a client had something in mind. If you actually call the architect, you know what, I have one plot of land somewhere. In fact, the architect is not even in Nigeria. I have a plot of land somewhere. It's a plot. What is a plot? A plot could be a circle. It could be a polygon. It could probably, it could be a triangle. So it is when your architect sees the shape of the land, will know how to design what will accommodate the land.
Okay.
So for that, you really don't need a register survey. Once your architect sees the shape, the length, he knows offset to give according to the law, you know what setback, it's fine. So a professional survey can be probably used best for that kind of purpose.
Okay.
So if you want to say, okay, you know what, I don't want to do anything yet, I'm trying to, I want to design the property, I don't want, fine, you can just go for a professional survey. But a register survey, on it you see the surveyor's name is there, the plan number is there, the booking numbers are there, assigned booking numbers. And even, in fact, from the plan number, you can easily say this is a register survey because there's a particular standard of writing the plan number. But when you start seeing the plan number and you're seeing something like P, most likely, probably, the provisional survey.
Provisional.
And look at the bookings. There's a particular standard way to know when you see a registered survey. In Lagos, SC/LA, the number and the surveyor's prefix show that that number was assigned for that job.
For that property.
But personally for me, when I get a professional survey, I'll just say pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3, pillar 4. So that one I don't put any assigned because when I start putting SC/LA, SE means my second, LA means Lagos and the number and then my prefix. Once I have it on the corners, meaning I'm telling you that I actually applied for that number for that job.
For that job.
So if you see a surveyor using that kind of number for a plan that is not registered, there's something wrong. You understand? So even from that, you can easily say, I know when you see that, when you go to Ogun State, something apply SC/OG. When you go to Ibadan, SC/AB, IB, like that. And then it's also important to know that even from a plan, you can easily know the surveyor that prepared the plan. On those bookings, in fact, when you go to probably you see a what job properly done, you get to a plot. After the surveyor has been delivered to the client, the surveyor should come back to site and write those numbers on the wall, on the corners of those plots. Because for no reason should two plots sharing the same boundary have different booking numbers. At that point where they're sharing boundary, Mr. A bought his own land first, done the survey, he put a pillar there. Mr. B changed the boundary. We quote that pillar. That you know what, we are sharing boundary at this point. So when Mr. B does his own survey, that pillar number we you understand? And it's not the reason is not far-fetched because if you have two pillar numbers there, so that there are two different points. Meanwhile, it's just one point, that's one single point there that you're sharing. And when you see that number, well, it's a professional view. From the last prefix, you can easily know who is the surveyor that did the job. So for any question you are about the job, you can easily just contact the surveyor.
You said a lot. But two things have stood out for me. I've learned something new. There's something called a provisional survey and a registered survey. So I've learned today. I hope you've also learned.
So I'm really, really learning a lot. Aside the fact that I'm a lawyer, I've learned so much. In fact, I wish I brought my pen and paper to jot down. But then I hope I remember everything. So to Sesi. So recently, right, there's this issue between Landmark and federal government. Where like the way inside there, if you are signed like this, then what should the owner of the property do? so like we saw the letter online where they issued, was it a 7 days notice? Demolition within 7 days. Number one, what could have been the cause? That's the first question. Like, do people just, or does the government just wake up one day and just be like, I don't like that property in that place, I want it gone? Like, are there processes, are there procedures? Then if unfortunately my client or Henry's clients or even your client falls a victim of such, what's the next thing to do? How do you seek redress? How do you get justice? What do you do if you ever find yourself in that kind of a situation?
Tough one. No, I'm not dramatic here, and I want to be practical. So, like I said earlier, every Nigerian has the rights to own property in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that one thing with laws, especially constitution of every country, is that your right as a citizen of the country is always subject to the corporate rights of the country.
Interesting.
Your Nigerian rights, your right as a Nigerian cannot supersede the right of Nigeria. Nigeria is an entity, and we are Nigerians. I mean, Nigerian citizens. Now, Nigeria as an entity, as a country, has power through the state government to acquire land compulsorily for overriding public purposes. Public interest. You mentioned like hospitals, like road, like development. Now, when you bought land and the states approved it, legal title, I said earlier, it's perfected. There was no issue of government land. There was no. It was perfect. And they give you 10/10. Legal title documents. Land has a seal of purpose. You can't be landmark without approval. It's not possible. You went to build. You have building approval, building plans. Everything was perfected. It was done. And government now says, "Oh, sorry. 2007, when you applied, we agreed that this area there was no road. We'll not do a road here. But now, we want to do a road here in your beach."
Wow.
You can't say no to government because the law says you can acquire compulsorily, but they must follow some procedure. Number one, they must notify you. They must give you notice, which was done. I saw that notice online. It was on Instagram. It was a notice. And notice there's no timeline.
But it's okay. The letter didn't have a timeline.
It's for 7 days, but notice the law says they're being notice, but it's not saying 2 months, 3 months. But the project they are doing.
But is it reasonable to give 7 days?
So
1 day say notice.
The law says notice. So notice is notice.
I feel this is why why you have lapses in law. But continue.
Yeah, the law says notice. Notice is so landmark got a notice. One. Then second stage is that when you get a notice, you also show proof that you actually have title, which they have title now.
Okay.
Then thirdly, you can either challenge the process. The process was not properly done, which this one was actually done properly. You challenge the process. Or number two, you ask for compensated. You submit your document and they will give you this landmark. We value it at 1 billion. The valuation is not going to be your own valuation. It will be at their own valuation. They have a particular calculation we give you and tell you we are paying you X billion naira for this landmark.
No matter the value of
they tell you that come and bring your claim within 21 days and everything. If you don't do it, you just see bulldozer coming to your place. Now, what can landmark do? Landmark is doing what I think is the best thing to do.
All right. Which is
negotiate and appeal to the good conscience of government.
Wow.
That your government, I can't fight you.
After investing that much.
So let's break it down. This public interest now is road construction. Lagos to Calabar Coastal Highway. And let's be sincere. For every road project in the country, there's a setback by law that you must leave that belongs to government by law. I don't know how many meters now. I think it's about 50 meters to 100 meters from the road, from the existing road. You give a setback, which is already existing on the current Water Corporation Drive. There's an alignment already, which they have not built into. And it's existing, but they say they want to start from the beach, which landmark has already built, and the beach is what is giving him
the footfall.
The beach and build a road. The landmark must succumb. What he can do is that he can now start appealing to the good conscience. Is there a way we can reroute this thing, which he's doing now? So legally speaking, your own right is that go for compensation and move on. We'll pull it down.
So the only remedy you have is to seek compensation.
But I think he's even negotiating and trying to engage to see if they can reroute the plan to the existing plan, which I believe that they might come to a middle ground. But the answer straightforward is that your remedy is that compensation and making sure that they did the right thing. They can sue them for not following the process and compensate you. But the government can take over the land without any apology. As far as they notified you and they served you notice. Once the time is up, they demolish it.
Wow.
That's how all the roads you have are built, schools they are built, rights are acquired and everything. It's easier for a virgin land, actually.
It's an ad pill to swallow.
It's fantastic. But for a built land, for a built real estate like landmark is one that several billions of naira. It's hard to see building pulled down. But my own take is that I want our government to, in the spirit of attracting foreign direct investors, let's show the world that Nigeria is a country that is predictable. Because how can I put a kind of landmark towards down 2007, 2000 and whatever, how many years has gone, almost 25 years has gone. And they're telling me that in your town planning, you didn't figure out road expansion. And you allowed me to build a structure which has to go down.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, I know the government has the power, but let's look at the economic impact and how they want to view us.
Yes,
Nigeria
of
is a
decisions.
country, Nigeria is a country where you can invest.
Yeah.
And 50 years down the line, real estate is always tied to the ground.
Yeah.
Real estate is it's secured. Because the government has given you approval to build and to get title. That's why you cannot tell that, oh, sorry, now I want to demolish it, I want to use it. It doesn't.
It discourages investment. Yes, it discourages investment.
And if they will even go to landmark, then minimize the impact so that people who are coming into their investment are not
discouraged. True.
People pissed off and say, look, Nigeria is not a serious place. I mean, it's a serious place actually, but
it's not scary. I'm just
yes, that's the answer. So usually you have very little. Your remedy is just competition.
Yeah. So that conclusion is depressing, but then we have to move on. We have to move on.
So I'm going to ask you another sad question. You want to say something?
Landmark issues. Sincerely, I've been invited on one or two days. I intentionally don't want to say anything.
Okay.
Because this is public space, and I want to believe the government are reasonable. Because coincidentally, about 2 weeks ago, before the notice, myself and a group of colleagues, one of the professional bodies in Nigeria, we visited the landmark, and we had, in fact, we get there, we were received very well, and we saw the marvelous thing they were doing. A member of the Organization of Surveyors, we were there, and beautiful concept. The idea was brilliant. So if just after that, the government said the road will be going through the landmark beach, the question will now be, Mr. Landmark, are you not aware there was a plan? We'll now ask the question to the government. When you know there was a plan, why did you approve it for us? And we'll now also ask you back, how did you get what was approved? So everything boils back to
due diligence.
This same organization pay tax to the government in several millions. But like I said, I want to believe the government will be reasonable.
Taking a stance.
First, the Lagos State governments love its people. In fact, the federal government, that's very, very laudable project. Lagos to Calabar Coastal Road, fantastic projects. We know the economic impact and how to increase.
To facilitate commerce.
What happens to investors? How does the world see us? Like you said, how protected is my
investment?
At this point, when the economy is trying to grow, we are seeking investors to come in. And if something like that has invested, I was there. I went around the private beach we got there. Lovely idea. So, but like I said, the Lagos State government, I want to believe that we're very reasonable. The federal government also.
So please, I think we've really been hammering on a particular phrase since we started this podcast, right? And I feel we should clarify what we mean when we say due diligence, right? So what constitutes due diligence from the surveyor's angle and from the legal angle you get? So please, Mr. David, you can go first.
I don't think there's any difference from surveyor's angle. You just does the right thing, simple.
So what does do the right thing mean?
Okay, for properties, you want to buy a land, make sure you're buying from the right person.
Okay.
Make sure you verify the property you want to buy.
Okay.
And after you buy the land, make sure you do all necessary things. Get your proper survey papers. Don't do backdating because I was surprised when a very popular company, a developer, can tell me that I heard this is the price of survey, but can you do backdating? So what?
Why do they want to backdate the documents in the first place?
To pay less.
First of all, they want to pay less.
Less, yes.
Oh.
You want to pay, for instance, I don't know if they still. If you are applying for CFO now on your property, looking at what is happening in Lagos now, the price is not what you would have paid 5 years ago. You understand? So some persons would like to do some kind of drama. Look, okay, you applied for this thing 5 years ago. You understand? Cutting costs to them. And the local government is trying in terms of digitalizing everything. So there's almost no way you want to hide. So to me, just do the right thing. It's like going to ShopRite and you see a price tag on a particular commodity. This thing is so and so naira. You want to take it and say, can this thing be?
Can it be 2 naira?
If that should go less. See that you stole it, or one of the cashiers. And so there was some people who come to me and you know what? I did the survey and this and that. How much do you pay? When I say how much do you pay, and you can't tell me, bro, you can't pay that thing now.
You think it's a real deal?
No, you can't do it.
I'm still like you guys have a uniform charge also.
Yeah.
So.
So
all things being equal, we have a uniform fee. You understand? It's not cost of fuel that is so liters per liter. It's the same across.
Okay.
So when you see a survey that is giving you, you ask one of your two are saying the same thing and one is saying something, you know that probably one of the sign of knowing is not
So Sesi, would you like to add anything from the legal aspect of it?
Yeah, from the legal aspect of it, due diligence is just ensuring that the property you're buying, there are no defects. There are no issues that would affect
that can challenge your ownership
to enjoy the property. Because what the most important thing to enjoy is peace of mind. Assurance of ownership. So anything that if you check for will not assure ownership, then don't do it. So that process of doing it is due diligence. It's not always. Sometimes when you start one process, you see there are 3 months to cross. So you never really know until you start. So I always tell people that it's better to spend some thousands of naira than lose some millions. I can spend thousands of naira 3 times and gain millions than spend million once heavily and I lose it entirely. So just see like an insurance policy that this insurance I want to do now. I might not get the thing I'm sure it might not happen.
Yes.
But if it happens, I have a policy that
will cover it.
So this is I'm really just like this part might not have any issue. It might not have any issue. It might not have. But if I pay the lawyer, the surveyor, and discover it has an issue, I've not lost anything. I've only paid for your services. I've not lost anything because I didn't buy the land. But I now don't do insurance. I don't do due diligence. And I buy the thing, and the thing now turned out to be faulty. I've lost all the money.
You lost all your money.
Spending my So the point in Nigeria see that a lot of people that they just see that all I be paying you some money when I want to just buy it and move on. That's why they lose money. Because the higher the risk, the higher the return. So if you don't do due diligence, you lose it, you fall into
you lose everything.
Then the higher the return. Why don't you take a time to say this risk I want to enter? Will I recover from it? Or will I sink my money? And for landmark, it's a different case entirely. You know, people like that, I said that, as an investor, you know that what you are doing is risky. I might lose everything. Because government can take over everything after all your due diligence, there's approval, everything was done, that's a different thing entirely. That's why you're an investor, that's why you're an entrepreneur. That even if you lose it, I can start over again somewhere else.
Yeah.
Of course, that does not mean you won't feel the pain, but that's why you are an entrepreneur. The ability to take on huge risks. And no matter what happens to you, you will build all over again. So it's a very sweet industry to make money. Also, it's easy to lose money if you're not careful.
And I think maybe I should also say due diligence as a surveyor. Let me explain also. Chatting.
Yeah.
You want to buy a property, either be a building or a land. You take your surveyor to sites. It does the drama. Picks 1 or 2 points. And then prepare a plan and then submit to the office of the surveyor general to apply, okay, you know what, we want to buy this property, this particular location. is it good to go? So normally you get an official, your surveyor writes, you get an official reply, okay, this is status of the land. And it will also be advised accordingly. Can you go on? Can you not go on? If you want to go on, this is what the land is used for. And also people also don't know that, okay, even after you have your survey, you want to process your CFO, we're going to call land information too, that give you a full brief of, okay, this is the location of the land, fine, this is the use of the land, and other things, other details about the land. They're also part of due diligence. So, as from the surveyor angle, it's important knowing the state, and it's not really about if the land is committed or not. It's about knowing what you are going into.
What you are buying.
You want to buy a property for residential and you done it agriculture, then step back. You want to go into farming, fine, then go. You're good to go. You understand? Even though I've seen a lot of cases where, okay, one of the properties we were working on, if you are aware of what you are getting into, you know you have a CFO for a land that is agric. You know the CFO you have is not, the lifespan is not as long as the residential CFO. So towards the end of the expiration of your CFO, it's that you write to renew. And when you don't see any response about renewal, start beginning to gather your property. Because I've seen where people are actually taking.
Start to harvest your produce.
Because I get this question a lot. That what happens when our CFO expires? What happens when the CFO people that have land, agricultural land expire? Some of them, the government will decide to renew. But I have about 2 cases.
They didn't renew. Wow.
And sometimes, but the government did not try because they okay, you applied, we did not want to renew this thing, fine. So that will start happening. But it's important to know that when you are aware of the status of the land, you are better prepared.
Okay, interesting. So, all work, no play, right? Makes.
We're out of time, yeah. But let me just flip you guys. Try to understand your investment tastes. Yes. So, Sesi, you first.
Yeah.
A choice property in Maitama or Banana Island?
Banana Island, no brainer. Banana Island, come on, man. Lagos.
So what's your reason? You don't leave Lagos? Even if the property in Maitama might be way more.
So I'll give my reason. I'm a lawyer. And in Banana Island, I'll meet HNIs who are also in my professional life.
So who are HNIs?
High net worth individuals.
Oh, okay.
Who probably bankers, investment guys, and people that they are clients, party that are in that category. I'll service them. In Maitama, yes, I'll meet them in Maitama too, politicians, but because of the location, I want to be in Lagos, so I'll go for Banana Island.
Okay. So, David, how about you?
Well, for me, I would choose Banana Island.
You choose Banana Island.
Like if I get I'm in a good grace of people in Banana Island, my Maitama will be a stone.
All right, we're out of time. I think I should let you wrap up now.
All right, so as in this episode, we've had so many highs, so many lows, but overall, we've all learned a lot. You would agree with me that we had so much to learn, and in fact, I'm going home to do further research on all that they have done. But then, don't forget that on this show, we talk about everything legal. So you want to subscribe, you want to like, and you want to follow this channel so that you don't miss out on any episodes that we drop. Thank you.
All right, so further out what Sha said, if you have feedback, please email us before you sign podcast@gmail.com. We might just be nice enough to bring, another set of property and surveyor on the seat, just probably to answer your questions. That's number one. Number two, I hope you've learned something. If you've not learned anything, rewatch the video. Keep rewatching it, especially you that want to buy property. Be lawyered up, be surveyored up. Don't go and fall victim. I'm an Igbo boy, and most times when I see demolitions of some people, and some people just sectionalize it, and I'm like, no, don't sectionalize it. I've been in the industry. A lot of my brothers buy property without doing the normal thing. I know a lot of them that do it. All right. So real estate doesn't know tribe. I don't feel it knows tribe. For me, if you do the right thing, you get the right paper. That's what I believe in. Because I'm also practicing in the real estate industry. All right, we have property clients, me on my own. So I think on that note, we would say, like she said also, please engage us on social media, follow us, subscribe, like, share our videos, please. We need more views. Thank you, and spread the word for us.
So thank you so much for coming, Sesi. We had a really, really deep and educative conversation. Thank you so much, David. Thank you for shedding light to everything relating to the surveyor's aspect of property acquisition and all. Thank you for coming.
Thank you guys. Because I know, thank you. Because I know this is what money consultation. It's just like consultation.
Yeah.
Thank you,
True.
especially on short notice. We appreciate you guys coming.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.